We are currently right in the middle of the biggest revolution to ever happen in the history of video games. For the last 50 years, video games have almost entirely been made by giant companies looking to make a lot of money. But now, for the first time, video game players are able to stand up to these companies and say, no, these are the kinds of games we want to play. We consider video games to be the ultimate art form, and we are going to start treating them like it.
Yo. Hey. Who you really gonna call when it's balls to the wall? You 8 months out to the fall. Third quarter shit's really gonna pop. What if your shit really flops? Can't take it anymore when you drop the mixtape with the heat.
Today, I want to talk about creative games, which I think are the future of video games. But in order to do so, I first have to talk about challenge-based games, which are pretty much the opposite of creative games. In challenge-based games, players are given a series of challenges which they must overcome. They typically ramp up in difficulty, and players have to learn the patterns in order to defeat them. It could be a map of levels to complete, a collection of enemies to defeat, or a series of puzzles to complete. For various reasons, most video games in our history have been challenge-based games. And don't get me wrong, I love challenge-based games. However, it's important to remember that not all video games have to follow this formula. Let's look at some examples of creative games that are devoid of challenge. The Sims was released in 2000 and was designed by Will Wright. In The Sims, there are no challenges to beat or tasks that the player is forced to execute. Instead, players build houses, create characters, form relationships. It's essentially the ultimate dollhouse for players to experiment and create stories with. Another example of a creative game is Minecraft, which was designed by Notch and released in 2011.
No one can tell you what you can or cannot do, with no rules to follow. This adventure, it's up to you.
While there are some challenges to overcome in Minecraft, it's the creative components of the game that got millions of players hooked. The game is essentially a huge game of Legos. Players have created incredible worlds and have used the redstone block to build complex machines. It is the best-selling game of all time, and it doesn't give the player any specific goals to accomplish. For all the success that Minecraft has achieved in the years since, it's important to remember that it all started with one crazy outsider developer named Notch, who had a feeling that players wanted something different than the constant stream of challenge-based games they were receiving. Game designer Peter Molyneux had the following to say about Notch. He didn't stick to the old rules of game design that most game developers slavishly obey. The gift was giving people a world to play with. Minecraft trusts in people's ability to find their own entertainment. It is a glimpse into a new world of digital entertainment. It's been almost a decade since the release of Minecraft, and the creative gaming movement is still just beginning to blow up. Mario Maker is a recent example of the power of creative gaming. Mario Maker gives players the tools to make and share their own 2D Mario levels. This creative take on Mario has breathed new life into a game that was losing its luster. Because players are responsible for creating content, there are always crazy new levels to play, which keeps the game fresh. This is the reason why Epic Games implemented their own creative mode in their game FORTNITE only a year after the game was released. FORTNITE Creative allows players to make their own islands, which are basically their own little mini-games. This keeps the game fresh with new player-made content, but it also creates a strong community of players who will share the game to get new players to play. It's basically free advertising for FORTNITE. Videos of crazy player-made games have racked up millions of views online. Epic Games even puts player-made creations on the actual FORTNITE island. But the most ambitious creative game to date is a new game called Dreams. Dreams, released in 2019 by Media Molecule, gives players a set of powerful tools to make whatever they want with. Players sculpt, animate, design, and configure logic to make characters, worlds, or entire games. Never before has a creative game of this massive scope been attempted before. Media Molecule is putting 100% of its faith in its players' abilities to make amazing games. David Jaffe, the game designer behind hit console games like God of War, expressed his concerns about this in a recent video.
If you're looking at it from a pure consumer standpoint, who is going to buy Dreams and play the games that people make in Dreams? They have to offer something, right? If you can't compare Avengers Endgame to a little shitty YouTube video. So it's not that I think that Doom and games made in Dreams should be equatable, but the fun factor, the engagement factor, the worth my time factor, those are absolutely one-to-one. Those are absolutely competing. And my point is, as of now, Dreams is coming up extremely short when it comes to the engagement and fun factor with the games that are currently being listed as the best of breed on that program.
So, David Jaffe is totally right when he says that games and Dreams are competing with commercial games. If games and Dreams are just lesser versions of professionally made games, then players are just going to continue to play those professional games and they won't have a reason to buy Dreams. However, I'm much more optimistic about the future of Dreams than David Jaffe. Just a few weeks after David Jaffe's video, a game was released on Dreams that took the game industry by storm. Ruckus, created by Mori Shiro and Heart Factory KW, is a kaiju game about a cute monster that destroys a city in hilarious fashion. The player uses Ruckus's abilities to rack up points by eating ships, knocking down buildings, and shooting down planes. Occasionally, the camera changes to make it look like the game is part of a news broadcast, something I don't think I've seen in a video game before. The funny thing is, the creators of Ruckus weren't expecting to get much attention for the game. It was just a little side project. To their surprise, it was featured on gaming sites like Kotaku, Polygon, and IGN. The videos they were posting online were going viral. Even David Jaffe tweeted about the game. The wild success of Ruckus proves that games and Dreams can compete with professionally made games. But here's the catch. Ruckus didn't succeed by trying to be as good as professionally made games. What it did was strive to be different than commercial games. I recently reached out to Ruckus developer Mori Shiro. He told me, "There are very few kaiju games on the market, so we were able to tap into an untapped market. We weren't trying to make a hit. We were just adding interesting ideas to each other, trying to make a game as interesting as possible." This is the same strategy used by Lot and Sebastian, the two developers of the game series Pig Detective. Adventure games used to be very common, but they aren't considered commercially viable anymore. In Dreams, however, these kinds of games are given a whole new life. In this way, Dreams is a sort of democratic check on the commercial games industry. It can attract players by giving them totally unique experiences like Ruckus and Pig Detective, which you can't find on the store shelves. Lot and Sebastian say, "We are creating the game we would like to play without paying attention to what is currently being made. That for us is the true charm of Dreams. You can create whatever you want, even something horribly out of fashion." The second criticism that Jaffe makes in his video is that developers aren't given a good reason to make games in Dreams. Here's what he had to say.
Ultimately, they've made something that nobody really wants, is what I will say. If you're so hardcore into making video games, or you want to be, go learn Unity. You can get a job. You can sell your game on the iPhone, on the Steam store, on the fucking PlayStation store. Go learn Unreal. Go learn Game Maker. But why would you spend the 4, 6, 8 months to become super proficient at this if you actually have talent? And frankly, most people don't have that talent. And it's seen by the fact that most of these games aren't very good as games.
So, David Jaffe points out that dreamers aren't paid for their work. According to him, this lack of a financial incentive means that the real game developers are just going to ignore Dreams and that the quality of content on Dreams will suffer as results. I have two arguments against this line of thinking. The first is, I frankly don't care if professional game developers aren't incentivized to make games in dreams. Money-driven professionals aren't going to be able to make games which stand apart from commercial games. They're going to continue to make the same games that they've always made, the games we see in the marketplace right now. What's needed is an army of passionate, creative, intrinsically motivated hobbyists. These are the people that are going to make games that stand out from commercial games. As players of video games, we have all witnessed the power of an intrinsically motivated community in creative games like Minecraft, and seeing the success of hobbyist games like Ruckus on Dreams, there's no reason to think that Dreams will be any different. My second argument is, although there's no financial incentive to make games in Dreams, there are other very tangible reasons why developers, even professional game developers, should consider making games in Dreams. First is the sheer power of the tools in Dreams. While making games in Unity or Unreal can take years and requires deep knowledge of programming, Dreams allows players to rapidly make 3D games. If Mori had decided to make Ruckus in Unity, it would have taken him a lot longer, and he wouldn't have had the time to experiment in order to perfect his game. Dreams also speeds up development by allowing dreamers to use and remix each other's creations. For example, one dreamer named Frico is working on a Last of Us game engine in Dreams. This project requires deep knowledge about game engines and artificial intelligence, so most streamers wouldn't be able to do something like this. However, if Frico publishes his work as a remixable creation, then anyone would be able to use this engine to create the game of their dreams. No pun intended. Another tangible reason to make games in Dreams is in order to build an audience. If you're an indie developer, it is very hard to get people to pay attention to your game. Dreams has a built-in audience ready to give you feedback the second you publish your game. There are many streamers and members of the press who are always looking for cool new dreams to feature. If you're currently working on a game that you plan on selling, then Dreams is the perfect side project to engage your audiences while you're working on your game. It provides great content for social media, shows off your unique design sensibilities, and allows you to regularly release game content while you spend most of your time working on your purchasable game in secret. To wrap things up, creative gaming is an emerging paradigm of game design that is dramatically changing the relationship between players and their video games. Dreams is the boldest foray into this new space, and there are many who think that it is doomed to fail. However, for the reasons that I've discussed, I think the hobbyist Dreams community is going to continue making incredible games like Ruckus and Pig Detective that make Dreams a must-buy for millions of players. If you like this video, or you have some feedback for me, please let me know in the comments section. And please subscribe to my channel, because part 2 will be coming very soon. I have a lot more to say about Dreams and the creative gaming movement. Thanks for watching.
We really from around here, skip town on us, but we round, yeah. I really stay, pull this shit out, summer, winter, fall, spring, that means I run the town here.